We back. Episode 4, Most Hated Podcast.
We back, baby.
Y'all already know what time it is. You know, y'all been tuning in. The posts have been going up. Views been going up. Subs been going up.
People saying dumb shit on the comments.
That's a fact. That's a fact. We had to flame up a few people.
At least they listening.
Exactly. So we back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for listening to our crazy takes. Unpopular, some unpopular.
Great takes.
But we're gonna continue to do what we do. So today we're gonna start fresh. To all my NBA fans out there, you already know what time it is. NBA's back. The paperwork has been signed. Don't quote me on that. I wasn't in the room, but I'm gonna just say the paperwork has been signed.
No, it's official, baby.
Shout out Adam Silver and everybody at the NBA. I know it's been a difficult 2 months trying to figure this thing out. All us NBA fans were just praying and hoping that we would get to finish the basketball season. And here we are. We're still a long ways off. They put out the guidelines stating, what their plan is. And I think that they're not going to officially come back playing games until...
It is at the end of July. Should be the end of July.
Exactly.
22 teams.
Exactly. A few teams are salty that they weren't invited. The reason you weren't invited because you're not good enough. You suck.
Well, it was just and one team didn't want to do it. So.
They weren't going to win anyway. So.
Wait a second. Forgot to tell you, bro. You know what this means too, though.
What?
That Zion and Ja Morant, baby.
Oh yeah.
Forgot all about trash Zion.
You already know what time it is. I'm Team Zion. I'm Team Zion and Ja. I rock with them both. Paul don't rock with Zion. So
the most overrated player in the history of the game, besides Giannis Antetokounmpo.
You're tripping. He might be better than Giannis, but either way, that's for another day.
I'll take that.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, guys, all our NBA guys, I know everybody's excited to resume the season. However whatever your position is, whoever your team is, we ride for Brian on this side, so we want all the smoke.
All the smoke.
All the smoke. We want it all. Kawhi, what's up? Giannis, what's up? Joel Embiid, what's up? We ready for it.
Nah, I want to talk about. Well, I ain't gonna talk about it, but I'm gonna bring up that one guy who said Scottie Pippen was better than LeBron James. But we'll leave it at that.
I mean, we had to flame him up because that was absurd. I mean, Scottie Pippen is our guy. We rock with Scottie, but Scottie couldn't do LeBron laundry, man. If he needed to.
Nah, he said LeBron would be on the third team. He wouldn't even be on the bench. He'll be on the third team. So, if you listen to whoever your name is, bro, just know you trash at these takes.
I mean, people got different issues. Some people are on drugs. Smoking a whole lot of weed. But anyway, guys, we're just excited that the NBA is coming back. We'll see how that goes with quarantining and doing it from a remote location. All the teams being in that one particular area. I know they were talking about a few different ways to, show the home court teams favor in the sense of, I guess, maybe putting their logo on the floor in the gym that they're playing in, etc. But at this point, I don't think anybody really cares. I think, people just want to see hoops.
What do you think it's gonna look like? Those first 4 weeks, I think it's gonna be horrible.
It's gonna be weird, It's gonna be no fans, and we've never seen anything like that. I don't believe.
Well, not just that, not just the presentation part. I'm in like the performance. No one's really been hooping.
Right. That's true.
The conditioning, it's gonna be bad. Just think. Well, I know I play basketball every week. If I miss 2-3 weeks, bro, I can't hit nothing. I'm out of shape. I'm out of breath. Just imagine basketball players haven't played since in 3 months. So
just about, yeah. So yeah, they're definitely gonna be rusty. Their perception of the game is gonna be off for a minute. But I think with hoops, once you get 3-4 games in, stuff will probably start clicking for them. I mean, they are professionals, so they're probably, more likely to click faster than an average person, most likely.
Yeah, but have you seen some of the players? Have you seen James Harden?
I saw James Harden got skinny from what they were saying.
Yeah, he done got
lost
skinny.
weight.
He done went up to the mountains and lost like 30 pounds. But
Okay, I mean that might be cool. I mean, maybe he'll have a little bit more lift off. Maybe he'll attack the rim a little bit more. I think it's a good thing that he decided to take this time out to focus on something constructive for himself. Because James Harden still has a lot to prove in this league. Yeah, he's an MVP, but when it counts the most, he's known to disappear. So, which is unfortunate because if anybody's game is built for the final moments of a game, I would think it's James Harden, in my opinion, just because his ability to go to the hole, get fouled, be at the free throw line. I mean, that's perfect for somebody who's trying to win a game. And you got a shot. Yeah, you got one of the craziest shots in the NBA. Like, well, how are you not showing up? It doesn't make sense.
well, I think a part of it is one reason why he doesn't play defense is because he has to play so much offense. But losing this weight is going to help him with his conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think like he always gets tired towards game 5, 6, later into the series, and I think this would help him out a lot. Granted, he got to stop just shooting threes, but like you said, he's gonna have more lift. He's gonna drive more. I mean, we really don't need James Harden driving more. He already goes to the free throw line 15 times a game, but I think it's gonna help a lot. He's just gotta. I wonder if he's practiced with Westbrook while this happened. Westbrook probably come out here and be like, "Who are you?" He ain't passing that rock, bro.
Right. You never know. I mean, their whole dynamics as the Rockets team is interesting from the get go because of the small ball that they're trying to play, which before the season was postponed, we saw a little glimpse of it. They won some games, lost some games. So I would say that it boils down. It's going to be a matchup thing, like any team versus any other team, as we've seen. It's all about matchups. So somebody great can get beat by a worse team if the matchup is wrong. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Did they say the seeding? Is it 1 through 16, or is it going to be? I think it's going to be 1 through 16. Isn't it?
I'm not sure, but let's talk about that a little bit, Paul, because that's a topic that I think we probably covered off air a few times in the past about that idea of the NBA going to a different playoff format in the sense of the best teams 1 through 16. In my opinion, I feel like that should be something that they consider very heavily. I've seen that the opposition would most likely come from whichever conference obviously has the weaker teams, because that would mean that revenue that conference would be making, those teams in that particular conference, the money that they would be making from playoffs, they would no longer be making it, because if they do 1 through 16, then most likely in today's NBA right now, there would be more West teams in it than Eastern teams. So that means a lot of Eastern teams would be missing out on those profits.
I was gonna say I looked, and I think it's gonna be. I think it was like 10 to 6, 10 teams from the West, 6 teams from the East. If it was supposed to be something like that, so.
And that sounds fair to me, in the sense that if you got the whole NBA, you're playing everybody. So whoever has the best record, they just got the best record. That just means you need to step your game up. You need to go back to the drawing board and figure out why you're not winning ball games. Because if a team has a better record than you, regardless of the conference, they should get into the playoffs. They should. That's just my opinion on it.
We still got that bet, right?
About what, Zion?
Zion and Ja. You said
it was a playoff bet, right? About who would make the playoffs.
You said
Rookie of the year?
No, you said the Pelicans will. Actually, I don't know.
It might be the rookie of the year.
No, I think you said the Pelicans was making the playoff. I can't remember. You're gonna owe me money.
Well, I think we talked about both of those subjects, but I think we put the bet on the rookie of the year.
Ja's gonna win the rookie of the year, though. It's guaranteed he's gonna win the rookie of the year.
Well, at this point, it probably is concrete
because he's better.
All the hoopla.
Because he's better. No, there's more hoopla around Zion.
No,
There's more hoopla around Zion.
But Ja's not better than Zion.
Yes, he is.
I think because of his position, I think that's always an argument when it comes to these NBA players is that depending on your position, you're going to execute the game in a particular type of way. It looks a particular type of way, so it's going to look like maybe that you're better than another player who maybe is a bigger player, as a forward or a center, but like impact on game. I mean,
you're proving my point.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that Ja Morant is clearly a great talent. Like I'm a fan of his. Like I'm on both their sides. I just like it. I just like the game getting new, exciting players that that are young. That's going to take the league into the new generation. So I have no qualms about Ja in that way. But Zion is a monster. I mean, this kid. From the time he came in off injury, I know people were concerned about his weight, and maybe that still is a thing. But I just really believe that he's just made different. Like I think he's made of that LeBron James type stuff where I don't think he was really that injured. I think they were just being very cautious.
Oh man, you gonna get with that? He was
injured. I mean, David, David, these good GMs. They're not going if they're gonna draft you number 1, number 2, number 3. They're not about to take no chances. If they got to tell somebody that, he's injured just so they can make sure 100%, they're going to do that. They're going to lie. They're going to just straight out lie and be like, oh, well, he has a bad knee injury, knowing damn well they just want him to come in.
Stop it. Stop it.
Relaxed and at ease.
Man, look. Zion can jump high. He's big. He's way too big for his size. He can jump high. He can't shoot. What else can he's a good offensive rebound. He gets his own rebound. Ooh. What else?
That's a big deal.
Man, all right.
Offensive rebounding is a specialty.
So what if I tell you get a player who's small, he got bounce, he can pass, he can shoot, he can do all of.
Cannot shoot.
He can shoot better than Zion.
But he's a guard.
No.
He's supposed to shoot better than a forward.
That's not true. That's not necessarily
It is true. Well, on percentage, I'm sure shooting guards shoot better.
But Zion can't shoot better than anybody.
Giannis can't either, but he's the MVP.
We're not getting on Giannis.
I'm just saying.
We're not getting on Giannis.
I'm just saying.
What I don't get is the hype behind Zion.
The hype is real. Paul, Go ahead.
Zion.
Because I'm about to flame you.
I told you. I said Zion is going to get hurt. I text you this. I said Zion's going to get hurt before the season starts.
He wasn't hurt though.
Zion's going to get hurt before the season. And what happened?
But he wasn't hurt.
And you sent me a text. You said, Paul, Zion's playing the first game of the season. I said, no,
that's
he's not.
just me being optimistic.
No, you're being ridiculous. He's too big. Coming from a fat person with knee problems, he's too big.
But he's never been fat, Paul.
He's too big for his knees. You can't be that explosive and have that much weight on your legs.
I mean, I feel that. I mean, that's a good point.
I tell people all the time, like with Blake Griffin. When I watched Blake Griffin in Oklahoma, I was like, this dude needs to find another game besides dunking because it's not going to last.
Right.
And look at him now. He's still having knee problems, but he finally figured out, I need to start doing jump shots. I need to figure out a different game. It's too late now. He should have did that 6-7 years ago.
I agree with that. I just feel like Zion has he has a particular type of niche game in the sense that people know him for dunking. Like, that's kind of what he's been known for throughout the time that he's been in the spotlight. But if you really watch him play, he has a nose that only superstars have. Like, the difference between a regular player and a superstar is just that very small percentage of a difference of how they're looking at the game, how they respond to the game. And I feel like Zion, back to that point about his offensive rebounding skills, like, that's a specialty. Like, not everybody has the ability to know the trajectory of the ball that they just put up and be able to get that second bounce to get it. Like, most people ain't good at that.
Yeah, but that's because he sucks at shooting. That's why. I missed. I'm 5 feet away from goal. Oh, I know I'm about to miss this. Let me get my own rebound.
But it works though, Paul. I mean, the dude came in first game and dropped 6 threes in a game or something.
That's because the coach was about to take him out and they were giving him the shot. I don't care about none of that shooting.
But he was making it.
Okay. How about this? You say he hit what? No, I think he probably hit like 4 or 5 threes.
It was more.
Okay,
than 3.
so he played 15 more games. Guess how many threes he hit after that?
But Paul,
He didn't hit none. He didn't hit none.
All right, listeners, we about to look up some facts, some stats, just so we can be very clear about what's going on.
I'm gonna keep talking. I'm about to roast Zion.
I'm gonna go ahead and look this up.
I've been watching Zion since high school. Everybody's been looking at his tapes. Everybody's like, oh, he's playing against these little white kids. He's playing, and I completely agree. So he goes to college. I'm like, bro, he's with Duke. Like, he's gonna get he's gonna get everything. They're gonna crown him the best player. Blah blah. Zion don't do nothing but dunking. He does nothing but dunk. I'm sick of watching him. It's the same take I have with Giannis, except Zion is humble. He knows deep inside, like, hey, bro, you're gonna have to figure something else out. You can't just dunk your way through the NBA. And all that, I mean, come on now. He has no skill set. That shooting threes during the first game of the season, first game of his season, that's all good and dandy. But after that, he wasn't hitting nothing. And he can't shoot no free throws. And I'm not going to say he didn't hit one more three after that. But I'm pretty sure after that, he probably hit 5 more threes after that. He probably hit 5 more threes. What? Fact check. Fact man, where you at?
All right, guys. For everybody that's Team Kinos, we about to flame them up. As it's presently noted,
fake stats out.
It's presently noted, Zion Williamson has played a total of 19 NBA games. He is averaging 23.6 points a game, shooting 58.9% from the field, 6.8 rebounds a game, and 2.2 assists per game. Now, Ja Morant, in comparison, has played...
Whoa. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
By comparison, Ja Morant has played 59 games. Is that accurate? Hold on, are these stats accurate? Hold on.
He fine.
How many games? No. I'm trying to see. How many games did they play before they stopped?
They're at almost 70. They're almost at 70.
Okay, so instead of saying up until the point they postponed it, we'll just go off, the amount of games that's being labeled on these stats, because they're still accurate stats up until, a certain point. So in comparison, Ja Morant played 59 games up until a point, averaging 30 minutes a game, 17.6 points per game in comparison to Ja's 23.6. So that's about almost a 6-point difference.
Whoa. Let's go off of volume now. Let's look. See that? Do you see that? No,
I'm saying that's fine. But I guess all I'm saying. Okay, let me finish the stat line. All right. 17.6 points a game for Ja Morant, shooting 49.1% from the field, which is great. 3.5 rebounds a game, 6.9 assists per game. So when it comes to the rebounds and the assists, him and Zion kind of flip-flop. Ja has more assists than rebounds. Zion has more rebounds than assists. But Zion has more points per game, though Ja Morant has played in more games, which is going to take into account his points per game. Yeah, the averages. And we understand that. But my overall arching theme is still this. When you see Zion on the floor, if you know hoops, Paul, you know basketball, you are going against your own intuition of knowing the game of basketball. When you lay eyes on Zion Williamson on the court, he is balling. He is hooping. That cannot be denied.
Okay.
It can't be denied.
I'm going to say this. He's been hooping, but I don't understand or I don't agree with all this hype. You even said the hype since LeBron. No, hell no. No.
The hype is there because of the domination.
But the problem is this. It's just like I see time and time again when I tell people, hey, he's okay. He can dunk, but do something else. For example, Josh Smith. Josh Smith out here, highlight factory, Atlanta Hawks fan.
But
we love it.
But if you know hoops, people knew that Josh Smith was trash.
No, sir.
If you really knew, did you ever think that Josh Smith was top tier?
No, but I've seen people talking some Josh Smith the top 10 in the league.
Yeah, because they're dumb.
But it's just like Blake Griffin. I've never thought Blake Griffin was top 10.
Me either.
Ever. But that's what I'm saying. But
he might have been top 10 at some random year.
But I'm putting Blake Griffin and Zion in that same category.
See, I'm not doing that.
But that's what I'm doing because, no, I'm saying look at all the things already. He's already having knee problems. He weighs too much.
But I think his knee problems are overblown. That's the difference between what you think and what I think. I think they're hyping this. I think they're just putting that information out there to make an excuse for why they want to sit him just to protect their investment. That's my opinion. And I'm not there. I'm not the GM. I'm not in the office. But that's just what I believe.
But what I'm saying, it's the same exact thing that happened to Blake Griffin. Blake was doing all this dunking, and I was like, he's going to get hurt. And then he got hurt the summer of his rookie year, and he had to sit out the rest of the season.
But let me say this too.
The whole season.
Let me say this too, Paul, to that point about Blake. Because I was just watching some highlights probably yesterday and the day
And I'm going to say
before.
this too. Blake Griffin is trash. He is trash. I don't care what anybody...
That's cool. I mean, I'm not a Blake fan, so I can't defend that, Mr. Griffin. But back to your point about Blake Griffin dunking, as much as he did, the difference I think between Zion and Blake and even DeAndre Jordan is that those guys were trying to dunk at all costs. If you go back and watch that film of them, they were taking off from places that it looked like a train wreck. You're like, yo, if somebody undercuts you, you're done.
It's like the D-Wade thing, like how D-Wade was.
You said D-Wade?
Yeah, D-Wade was always trying to dunk,
I'm just saying,
No, I get what you're saying.
As Lob City, they made it where, like, they didn't think on the back end of it. They would just react. So if somebody throw the ball in the air, no matter where they were standing, them fools would try to jump over you and, jump from the free throw line and, they leg is cocked to the side. It's just like, bro, you're endangering yourself. Yeah. And I think that's what the difference, in my opinion, that's the difference.
John Morant does that too.
Yeah,
he needs to chill out
see,
too.
that's the point I'm trying to get to is that, yes, from the surface level, it's been looked at like Zion is already having these injuries. And I think I want to say Ja had a major injury in college.
Yeah, he had to get his knee cleaned up.
Right.
Yeah, he got his knee cleaned up.
That's pretty standard, for a lot of players. But back to that point about, just being out of control, I think Zion is very methodical. I think that's why even though I can see a person's point about his weight and the pressure on the knees and kind of what his skill set caters to, it does cater to him being in the air and alley-oops and always dunking. And I think that for the most part, that's what people know him for. But I also believe that is really just where his true talent lies. And I don't mean his true talent lies in dunking. I just think that he has a certain niche around the rim. Like, when he gets around the rim, he's going to score. Like, whether he lays it up or dunks it, you are not stopping this man. Giannis couldn't stop him. And, I mean, a lot of big men in the league that he played, superstars, could not do nothing with Zion.
All right, so
even Bron couldn't do nothing with him. He was just too big.
But Bron shut that down. But anyway, but I want to ask you this though. So, do you see Zion as a 3 or a 4? Because I can't see him as neither. He's too, like they say.
I just see him as
6'8".
a hybrid. I just see him as a guy who he doesn't really fit anywhere. He just is. He does what he does, and he does it well. And I don't really look at him like that.
But the reason why I ask this is because he can't shoot enough to be a 3.
Right.
He doesn't have. He has. I don't think he has any post moves. Like he can score, like you said, to be a 4.
He got post moves though.
But also what I'm saying is, see, he can't. No one ever seen anything really like that coming into the league. But when he starts to have more games and people starting to study, what can he do? Like, they're gonna start hacking him. I promise you. You can't shoot free throws.
I mean, of course, in certain situations, people are gonna hack him, and just like any of these other players who weren't that great from the free throw line. I just think that. I just know for a fact, just putting my eyes on him, and I mean, and this happened before he got to the NBA because the crazy thing about it was I was never a Zion fan. Like, I was probably worse than you at the beginning when he was in high school when people used to just send me clips of him dunking. I'm like, yo, he looks like he's dunking on Hey Arnold or something. Like he's not really he's not really doing anything against any real competition. So it kind of was annoying me, and I'm sure that's kind of how you felt about it. Was like, this is annoying. Like this hype is annoying, and I was at that place too. And then the first time I laid eyes on the dude at a higher level at Duke, and not to say that the NCAA is just the top level. I mean, it is the top level college players, but it's still no NBA. But at that next level, he was dominating like that. There was nobody that could do anything with the guy, and you would think that would mean that they would win the national championship and everything. But that goes back to what you're saying about his skill set. He does have to, find a way to diversify.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like out of all the players that I see time in and time out, I always like, man, he's okay. Like y'all all into the dunking and stuff, but longevity, I don't see it. That's what I'm saying. Like I can't remember old dude's name. He came from Duke. Well, he was like one of the top picks a couple of years ago. I'm trying to remember his name. Anyway,
big player, small guy.
Yeah, Jabari guy? Parker. That's what I was thinking about.
Oh yeah,
Jabari Parker. Like Jabari Parker, he was good, but people were like hyping him up like he was the next Melo. He was all of this. And I'm
yeah, for sure. I thought that too.
Yeah, and I was just like, he could possibly do it. But the thing is also, and I don't want to hark on this, but a lot of people are overrated because they're on Duke, because Duke has them. Every player that comes from Duke is supposed to be the greatest player of all time. We can talk about this another day, but Kyrie Irving is overrated. I got so much stuff to say about that, but we'll talk about it another day. But the thing is, Zion, he's getting everything. Everyone's hyping him up, but I'm asking later on, is he going to last long in the NBA with his weight? I want you to tell me, is he going to last, if he stays at 285, is he going to last in the NBA? I want you to, what do you think? Because I personally don't believe it. I don't think he's going to at all. I think he's going to be like 5 years, and after that, he's just having more knee problems. I
don't believe that. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I'm not going to leave that off the table. I just believe that with a good general manager like David Griffin running the show and having experience with LeBron James and other high-level players and being in high-level situations and dealing with a high-level organization at the time, I just think that they're going to make sure that they take care of their investment. I think that's just what that boils down to. I think, obviously, that they can only do so much, and that naturally, as you develop that wear and tear, we'll see, what the results of that is. But everybody has to go through the wear and tear. Nobody, it's rare that you have players like LeBron who can go 17 years and never have, for the most part, a major injury up until last year. So that's rare in itself. But I do believe that Zion is made up of that, regardless of what people think about, the injuries that they said he's had. I mean, because think about at Duke when his shoe blew out, and even then, I just knew that the guy wasn't injured. They just wanted to make sure.
I agree. They're being cautious.
Yeah, he he twisted it a little bit, fell backwards, and all that. So I mean, I just feel like you're gonna protect your investment no matter what the situation is. And in this situation in particular, the player is the investment, the one that you're paying this money to, or the one that's bringing in the revenue. So of course you're gonna make sure that golden ticket is taken care of. And I just feel like that's kind of been what I think that the amount of stock that they put into Zion, from Duke to the NBA, I think that explains why they come out and say, he's injured, he's going to take some time off to rehabilitate. I just think that they really truly believe, probably like me, that this dude is one of a kind, and I will never think differently about it, because when my eye sees something and I feel like I know it to be true, I'm gonna stand on it. And I feel the same way about Ja. I feel like Ja is very talented too. They're talented in different ways. When I see Ja, I see like a shorter Penny Hardaway in a way. That's just me, and I know it's kind of, Penny was in Memphis, Ja's in Memphis, all that correlation, but just in general, just the type of build he has, this real thin, wiry frame coming into the league, he really reminds me of Penny. Only obviously he's a little bit shorter than Penny, but he got bunnies though. like Penny. So
I compare him to Russell Westbrook in a good way, where he got hops, but he's a smarter player. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, Russ gets triple doubles. Russ be doing some dumb stuff on the court, but I see him as Russell Westbrook with the vision. He does have vision. He has great court vision. He got hops, and he can shoot better than Russ already. But we're going to see, man. I already told you, Ja is going to be Rookie of the Year, and my Grizzlies are going to make the playoffs. I told you that.
Well, we'll see.
No, ain't no we'll see. They are going to make the playoffs.
We'll see.
But you know why I don't believe in the stuff you tell me about Zion? Because you think you could beat me one-on-one in basketball.
Oh, my God.
You think you can beat me one-on-one in basketball?
I need all the dudes out there.
You've been dodging this L for the longest.
I need all the dudes out there that's been played against me in hoops. I know y'all probably don't want to raise y'all hand because y'all don't want to tell people that y'all got done up by Nos the God.
That's Keno's talking.
By Nos the God. But it is what it is. I didn't give people a whole bunch of L's, and that's just what the facts is. But
no. I've known you for what? Was it? It's been
maybe a decade.
No, it's been more than a decade. It's been like 13 years.
Maybe so.
And you've dodged every L I was gonna give you. Every time we supposed to hoop. Hey, I gotta do something. Yeah, the gym is right down the street, but I gotta go do that. I'm like, bro, let's get this over with.
I got a schedule.
You ain't got no schedule.
But
man.
we'll get there, guys. We're gonna videotape it so the proof is there and so the world can see. But
man, what's on the dot?
Let's move on.
Man, you ain't gonna beat me in basketball. We can play best of 3, best of 5. What you want?
I just got one game for you. That's it. One game for the marbles. That's how I play.
One L then. All right, that's cool. Yeah. Don't ask for no rematch.
We'll see.
All right.
What's
next,
all right, guys. We're gonna switch topics a little bit. I know everybody has seen what Dree Brees had to offer us.
Clown.
In the wake of all these injustices recently, he decided to make a statement, and I have nothing against him stating his claim. You know, I think that's what people should do. You know, I think people should be honest and draw that line in the sand so you know where they stand. You know exactly who you're dealing with. And as we can see, a lot of his teammates met him with some opposition. Rightfully so. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just believe that, he's a grown man and he believes in what he believes in the same way any of us believe in what we believe in. Whether we agree with it or not, at least he was honest enough to say it, where some other people are, more cowardly and they might feel the same way as him but would never say anything. But once again, why are we surprised? He's a white male in America, this country. I'm sure in his opinion is, is his. He inherited it, just like any other white person feels like. He's living the American dream like he was supposed to. He comes from a affluent background, affluent upbringing, so he's always, I'm sure felt like this and was a very staunch believer in what he believes in. And by all means, believe what you believe, but just know because of what you've said, it's going to make your career very hard to continue. It's going to make it very hard for your teammates to support you, to want to play with you. So good luck with that and that fake-ass apology.
Man, let me just start off with this. This is...
Sometimes you should shut the fuck up.
That was Malcolm Jenkins, his safety for the Saints. He came out with a video last night, and I mean that just says it all. Like he said, he looked up to Drew. Drew said what he had to say, and I mean I agree. I don't agree with Drew, but I agree with Malcolm. Like he said what he wanted to say last night. His PR team must have been blowing him up. I don't know. Did you hear the chants that they were doing last night too?
No, I didn't.
It was the F Dree Brees. I'm talking about in New Orleans.
Oh, rightfully. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, he should have been smart enough. And see, that's an interesting point to me, Paul, is that to me, Drew Brees, if I was to look at him from afar and just judge him on interviews I've seen, different quotes, prior to this whole thing, I would say, Drew Brees seems like a smart guy, right? He doesn't strike me as somebody who's an airhead, right?
Right.
So in moments like this, you would think that he would be smart enough to know that you're about to alienate your fan base, or not probably his main fan base, which is probably people that look like him, but there also is the other side of that, his fan base that are minorities. So he has to be smart enough to know that what he was about to say was going to alienate people. And in that, I feel like that's letting you know that he doesn't really care.
Right.
Because he's smart enough to know what he was about to do.
But
and what the results would be.
Also, his words was, "I would never." Like he said it last night. Like he was so determined about it. It was like, "I would never respect anybody who does that." Like and then to say, "Oh, I didn't really know what the kneeling meant." Like come on now. It's been 4 years. Colin and players been doing this for 4 years now, and he's talking about, "I didn't know what kneeling during the national anthem really meant." Like, come on now. You knew exactly what was going on.
Paul, I'm about to go real heavy for y'all real quick.
Preach, Reverend Nos.
So, people's point or viewpoint on it, just like Drew Brees, is always from the perspective that I will never disrespect the flag, which means that if I disrespect the flag, I'm disrespecting those that have served in the military and those who've fought and protected this great homeland that we have, right? And that all sounds really good, guys. It sounds really good, and I don't take anything away from anybody who wants to join the military, anybody that feels like they want to protect this country. In principle, it sounds really great. It's a very honorable thing, and I'll always support that side of it, you wanting to do something honorable. But the truth of the matter is that history is a lot more complex than that. This government and the military is way more complex than that. The point of the matter is that I know plenty of people who only went to the military because they didn't have the money to go to college. They didn't have resources to better themselves. So they chose that route because they were being offered a lifestyle. They were being offered funds in exchange for their service. And once again, I would never look down on somebody for having to do that. People have to do what they have to do. But that issue is very convoluted. It's very dynamic. It's very complex. This whole subject about standing for the flag, kneeling for the flag, disrespecting the flag, disrespecting servicemen and all these different things. I think we look at those things it's too much on a surface level. If we wanted to be quite honest, a lot of these wars that you're fighting are concocted. They're government ploys. They're ways of introducing colonialism to another nation. It's another coup d'etat. It's another way to take the power away from this person this leader who they feel like isn't doing the job that he needs to be doing. And that's kind of where they leave it surfacely. But we all know that the background is a lot more complex and it's a lot more intense than that. They never found any weapons of mass destruction. Do you remember them finding any weapons of mass destruction? But we had a whole war based on it, right? So do we give if there were no weapons of mass destruction, do we still give props to the troops who went looking for them and didn't find any? Because wouldn't that mean that the whole premise of the war was false then? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I get it, guys. You want to serve this country, you believe in this country and what it stands for, but truth be told, guys, this country don't give a fuck about you. That's just the honest truth. When these veterans get out the military, you know how many homeless veterans there are? You know how many disabled veterans that aren't being taken care of by this country? Do you know how many veterans that there are with PTSD that are basically living a day-to-day in a horror movie where they can't even operate or function properly in society because of the trauma that they've been introduced to as it relates to the military and war? We don't want to talk about that. We want to always look at it from this picture perfect perspective. Oh my God, the flag waving in the air and the the picture of the soldiers at I don't know if it was Hiroshima or Nagasaki pushing the flag up. We always want to show these and once again this hero narrative, and the truth be told, and I think Shannon Sharp even mentioned it as it relates to this whole deal with Drew Brees, is like black people fought for this country too. And the same freedoms and liberties that they were over there fighting for when they came back to this country, they couldn't even reap the benefits of it.
Exactly.
So fuck you. I mean, that's just what it is. I hate to say it like that, but we just got to be real about it. Then the truth be told, and the thing is about it is this: the reason why Drew Brees says something like that is because these people do not give a fuck. They don't care if you as a black person are reaping the benefits of this country. They do not give a fuck. It is not for us in their minds. It is for them. Their ancestors came here and quote unquote built this nation. I guess you can say they mapped it out, blueprinted it. They were the architects. Okay, cool. But a lot of minority people were the people who built this shit. And as we can see with these riots, we'll burn this shit down. Yeah, we didn't build it, you know what I mean? I mean, in the sense of back then our ancestors did, but we're continuing to build this shit as it remains today. We work these 9-to-5 jobs. We work for these corporations where we don't get paid our worth in what we're doing for this corporation. We're getting paid pennies on the dollars while they're making billions of dollars. And we can get into all of it. I want all the smoke because I got time today. I got time for this bullshit today. And so at the end of the day, we just gonna keep it funky. And the truth of the matter is that white people do not give a fuck whether black people succeed in this country, whether Asian people succeed in this country, whether Middle Eastern people or Hispanic people. They just want us for the labor. That's it. They want us for what we're good at. If you are good at playing sports, Mr. Black man, go do that. We gonna own the team. Mr. Hispanic man, if you good at building houses, go build them houses. We just gonna hire you for contractors, but we own the shit. We make all the money from it. Mr. Asian man, you good at making delicacies and food and dishes, and you good at
phones,
making electronics, and you good at doing people's nails. You do that. We just gonna get the tax money from you. We're gonna use you for what you're good at, Mr. Middle Eastern man. Whatever you're good at, go do that. We're going to find a way to get our cut of it. So that's the whole thing about America, is that there are good things about America in what it can be, and what a lot of us that come together culturally and mingle with other people from different cultures and really embrace the melting pot of what America is. There can be a lot of great things about this place, but truth be told, a lot of people ruin it. And they've been ruining it since the jump. At one point, we were only considered 3/5 of a human being. Where does it say that in the Constitution that you get to just label somebody less than human, basically label them as an animal? How does that represent America? Do you want to speak to that, Drew Brees? How about you speak to that? If you want to open your mouth and speak to that. Speak about, because you want to believe that this is such a beautiful country, and you know, my ancestors, they sat on great principles and foundations, and they were about the right thing. They ain't never been about the right thing, Drew. No. Never, bruh. Never have your people been about the right thing. Ever. As we see it today, 2020, ever. When cops brutalize people, they barely want to bring charges. They barely want to fire the folks. They act like they're doing a disservice to the cop instead of the person that they just beat half to death. Are you stupid? So, like I said, I got all the time today. If we want to go there, we can go there. So, it is what it is.
Well, it's just like we always say, white people, they want to have our culture. They want to be like us. They want to take our music, our dances. They want to be like us in sports. But when it's all said and done, they will never be black. and they don't want to be black in times like this.
Well, and guys, I don't want y'all to believe that, you know, we're just aiming all this vile, you know, aggressive rhetoric at white people. You know, it's not just about white people. There's a lot of different directions that we can take this into. That's just one of the directions, in this country in particular. Caucasian people do make up the majority. We are dealing with America in particular in this conversation, dealing with Drew Brees and what his feelings are and the current state of police brutality in these different categories. But we just keeping it funky with y'all. We just keeping it real with y'all. And as two black men, we tired of this shit. I mean, I could tell y'all straight up and down, it's days where I literally am just exhausted from being black. It's like I'm not exhausted because I worked out. I'm not exhausted because I had a long day at work. I'm literally exhausted just for being black. Just because I get these weird looks throughout the day, get weird looks on the elevator. I got my hood on, walking past somebody. They looking at me crazy. I got people, looking over their shoulder, making sure I didn't turn around and following them. It's just like all these weird little things that just exhaust you after a while.
It's true.
And then, of course, dealing with the police and they bullshit. It's just too much. And I think that people, and don't get me wrong, and we can segue this conversation into what I wanted to go into a little bit is, don't get it twisted. Black people do have to hold themselves accountable in some ways. As much as we've progressed, there still are things about our community that have to be addressed. We cannot deny that, right? Like we can't.
Right.
Every community has things that they need to address. There might be drug issues in a particular community. They could be, people going to prison in certain communities. There's always something going on. There could be kids in the suburbs are doing prescription drugs. People in the projects are doing hard crack and heroin and cocaine. There's always going to be some issues plaguing communities, no matter what it is. And it doesn't have to be drugs or jail. It could be whatever it might be. I know the Asian community has a lot of issues socially. When's the last time you just bumped into a random Asian person and had an hour-long conversation? Most of the time it don't happen because they're not really socializing with too many people outside of people in their culture. You can say that's the same thing about maybe the Indian culture as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that every group has things that they're dealing with. Black people are dealing with the ramifications of so many years of slavery, so many years of Jim Crow, so many years of racism, so many years of being told that we're less than, so many years of watching our ancestors be abused, being bitten by dogs, being sprayed by hoses. We tired of that shit. Some days as a black person, I don't even want to think about what my history was. I don't want to think about it because it's very traumatic. It's traumatic to watch somebody being gunned down in the street. It's very traumatic looking at a photo of a woman in a dress in the 60s being attacked by a German Shepherd that weighs 100 pounds, being sprayed by a water hose, putting out however many cubic pounds of feet pressure towards this fragile woman. So all these things are traumatic, and don't get it wrong. Once again, a lot of communities have been through some very terrible things. The Jewish people have been through hellacious things with the Holocaust and dealing with Hitler. The Japanese have dealt with America, when they were getting blamed for Pearl Harbor and having their businesses taken away and being thrown in internment camps and these different things. A lot of groups have, the Native Americans, we can go on and on about the things that have been done to many groups throughout history and throughout the world. But we're in 2020 right now, so all we can speak about is what's going on right now. And what's going on right now is that people are drawing the line in the sand about where they stand. Drew Brees, apology or not, he put his foot in the sand and he drew that line. He's letting you know that he believes in what he believes in. He believes in what his version of America is. He believes in what his version of the flag symbolizes. And has that flag worked to other people's benefit, minorities' benefit? Sure, we're not gonna discredit that. We're not gonna discredit that people have found success in America where they wouldn't find success somewhere else. But I have a point to make about that, Paul, is that this is how America acts about this country. They act like just because they treat us better here in comparison to other places means that they need to get kudos for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's almost like when a father or parent wants to get credit for being a parent. You don't get credit for that.
Right. You're supposed
because that's
to
what
do
you're
that.
supposed to be doing.
That.
Right. So if this country is so great, we don't want to hear a bunch of talking or a bunch of Constitution rhetoric about what it stands for and your forefathers and every man's created equal. Man, we ain't never been created equal in your eyes and in this country. So don't feed us all this bullshit if it's really not how you feel. And if that's how you feel, you should have never brought our black ass over here in the first place.
Exactly.
Because really, Paul, that's what the truth of it is that it's coming back to bite them in the ass. Truth be told.
I always laugh at that. I forgot what video was that where they had, they was like, go back to your country. And it was like, well, you shouldn't have brought us over here. Shit. Like a white man said that.
And see, you know, some groups of people, and I mean, it can go for all groups. It's not just white people or anybody in particular. You know, people can be opportunistic when it comes to making money and getting ahead and being successful, and they will abuse you if you allow them to abuse you, right? If you don't fight back, they will. And I know individual people like that. People that if you allow them to get over on you, they will continue to get over on you. And you might look at them like you can't believe that they have no principle and they have no moral to not treat a person like that. But truth be told, some people just don't care. Some people, it's just a means to an end. And if they feel like you're that means to that end, they will abuse you. And that's what America is. As much as they try to put America on a pedestal for the opportunities that are here, a bunch of that is a lot of bullshit. And a bunch of that is laws and policies that only benefit certain groups of people. And sometimes not even when it's about certain groups of people, but sometimes it's like it's America's way or the highway. It's like if you play our game the way we want you to play it, we'll allow you to get to a certain point of success or comfortability or complacency in your 9-to-5 job and just having, you know, just enough to scrape by and have a little bit of savings or what have you. But if you don't play their game, you get excommunicated. You don't have a chance to succeed. And if you do succeed, it'll be based on your own creativity and your own willpower to come up with something outside of their system that will allow you to be successful. They only allow people that play the game by their rules to succeed. That's why, and that's where we fail a lot of times as a community, because a lot of our people are fed up. We don't want to play the game anymore. We're sick of it. We're sick of working 50-hour, 60-hour work weeks and not being compensated for what we're really doing, or being let go from jobs unfairly, or, you know, the company just wants to trim off some revenue that they're paying out, and they're trying to increase their bottom line, so they let a slew of people go, and you're the victim of that. Like, people are tired of that. That's why people are out here looting. That's why people are out here stealing, because these people are broke. Yeah. You know, some people didn't have job security during COVID. I couldn't imagine it. I have job security, you know, through this whole process. So I'm not someone who is sitting here trying to figure out where my next meal is coming from, or how am I going to pay my rent or pay my bills. I'm not concerned with that like a bulk of people that are out here as far as the unemployment rate as it sits, you know, present day. So, and I'm not sure what the exact numbers is. I can look them up, but I know it's in the tens to 20s of millions as it relates to people that are unemployed. So imagine that burden that people are sitting with on top of how this country already treats you. It's going to be chaos.
Well, not only that, it's just like we always say, when it comes to racists and racism, I'm not worried about the people who are openly racist. I'm worried about people who are in the closet racist, like who act like, you know, they're your friend, they enjoy you. And of course, we see them every day. But what I was going to ask you about is, with all these companies talking about Black Lives Matter and, you know, they're on that, they're they're all in agreement with black people, do you think it's because they're trying to save face, or do you think they actually mean it? Because nothing has changed since 2000 and what was it? Whenever Cap was doing it, nothing has changed. More black people have gotten killed. People still getting wrongfully accused. We're still talking about the same thing we've been talking about since then. But now all of a sudden everyone's doing it because I don't know if you saw the tweets by Martellus Bennett, but he was like, they're only doing it now because it's like they're forced to do it. If they don't say Black Lives Matter, then okay, now they're the outlier. Oh, why aren't you agreeing with them? Why aren't you speaking out? Because Nike was pretty much the only company to say, that was supporting Cap in all our protests. But now everyone's saying it. So do you believe that this is authentic, or you just, like I said, or are they just saving face? Because that's how I feel.
Like Paul, it's never authentic.
Yeah.
Like there's never a time where I see a corporation stand up for injustice, on the backside of the issue, and I think it's authentic. Anytime you see an athlete or anybody that has a sponsorship with a corporation, when that person does something like go to jail or get caught up in some type of scandal, the corporation cuts ties with them immediately.
Right.
And the reason why they do that is not because they truly care about what that person did. They could care less about that. All they're concerned with is their bottom line. They're worried about the perception that's going to be out there and the fact that might cause them to lose money. That's the only thing that these people care about.
Well, I will say though, I can honestly say, so Adam Silver with the NBA, like I can honestly say that he cares about black people because what he did to Donald Sterling was huge. And of course, and it's like that's the only sport that allows black people to be black other than, they changed the dress code or whatever. But when they had the I Can't Breathe, they're really promoting that. And I mean, they're still doing it, of course, but like now NFL coaches, oh, Black Lives Matter. I was like, bruh, come on now. We know it's racism in the NFL.
So check this out, Paul. So speaking to that Donald Sterling situation, and for those who aren't familiar with it, essentially Donald Sterling is was the owner of the Clippers, and he was recorded by his mistress or what have you at the time, his side chick, and she caught him on audio speaking basically down on black people and minorities. He didn't want her to be associating with black people or minorities. But the bigger point I wanted to make about that situation is that, number one, I've always felt like the players didn't do enough as it relates to that incident. As we can see with Muhammad Ali and these different social activists, political activists from back in the day, the reason why they're so revered is that they put not only their lives on the line, but their careers on the line in many ways to stand for what the right thing was and for what they believed in. And in that situation with Donald Sterling, at the time, I was like, the biggest statement that the NBA players can make is just don't play.
Right.
Cause this institution to lose money, and then you'll find out how quickly you have power to make a change. And luckily, like you said, Adam Silver, who seems like a genuine guy, as well as I try to read people's body language and how they come across and different things like that, I've always felt positive about Adam Silver. I've always felt like he was a very logical and fair-minded type of individual, just the way he presents himself. I don't know him personally, obviously, but that's how he comes across. So I gave him kudos for executing that plan to get Donald Sterling out of ownership. I gave him many brownie points for that. And another point to that I want to make is that it's funny how elitism works, right? And what I mean by that is that in that situation, Donald Sterling didn't lose. That's what happens when you are elite in this country, when you have a certain level of privilege due to, finances and wealth and things of that nature. You most likely, it would be hard to find an incident where Donald Sterling lost in that whole ordeal. And what I mean by that is that, yes, he had to give up ownership of the team, right?
He still made a huge profit off it.
Guy made $1 billion,
Exactly.
maybe 2.
It was $2 billion.
And let's look up the actual facts so I can speak accurately about it, and then I want to get to another point that's related, but kind of aside from it. And so what I'm doing right now, I'm looking up how much the Clippers were worth when Donald Sterling first bought the team.
I think it was about. I'm just going off the top of my head. It's probably like 800,000, maybe.
Okay, so I'm about to look it up right now, so we can be accurate.
It's about 800,000. But as you're looking it up, but did you hear what Doc Rivers? He just revealed this recently. How he was talking to this before he got hired. He was talking to Donald Sterling's agent or whoever it was about how he wanted to get a white guy on the team. I forgot who it was.
Oh, J.J. Redick.
Yeah, J.J. Redick.
He didn't like white players, so Doc Rivers had an issue about it.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point onto itself that we'll have to address. So when Donald Sterling bought the Clippers, he bought them they were the San Diego Clippers at the time. He bought them for $12.5 million.
Oh, that was way off.
It's cool. $12.5 million for an NBA team.
I'm thinking about the Cowboys when I said that.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
And now I'm about to tell you how much he sold them for. And, okay, so he bought them for $12.5 million. He ends up selling the Clippers for $2 billion to Steve Ballmer. Now, back to my point. Whether Donald Sterling was being racist or not, whether he's a terrible human being, whether he's the scum of the earth, he's vermin, he's a scoundrel, no matter what he is, the man did not lose in that scenario at all. He said what he had to say about black people, about those black players, not wanting to be around them, not wanting to be associated with them, but yet he needed them to perform on the court. And that's my whole point, is that we have to get to a certain point where we literally are flipping the finger to these people because they really believe that they own us, that they control us, that they are the ones who are going to benefit long term for the work that we put out, especially on a sports field. And I want to bring up another point before we go on any further. I want to talk about the quote that came from the Houston, Texas owner. I want to say it happened about maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. That was very controversial. But this is just to paint the picture for what we're dealing with, so we can stop acting like we're so surprised about how evil and how demonstrative that these people are. That a lot of these people are.
Well, you need to realize at the end of the day too, like they don't really care about the players. They don't. I mean. You see how easily they just take advantage of them. But go ahead. You found what you're looking for?
Yeah, so I found it. So the Texans owner at the time, Bob McNair, this was, I believe, right after Kaepernick started his protest where he was kneeling. And, I know everybody that's familiar with sports and football around that time, the NFL was really taking a blow as far as trying to stop players from kneeling during the national anthem. It was just causing this big outrage amongst a lot of fans and military people around that time. But around that time, I'm assuming, or not assuming, but a lot of his players were protesting. And the quote that he came out and said, why didn't, this wasn't something that was recorded by mistake or recorded without his knowledge. This was a quote that he put out there. And this is just to give you the mind state that a lot of these people are in. And it's a very slave master mentality. This man said, we can't have the inmates running the prison.
Oh, yeah,
and if you break that down, it's very deep. We can't have the inmates running the prison. So basically you're comparing the players that are on your team, you are comparing them to inmates in a prison. And because they're protesting, you view that as subordinate action. You view that as them being dissenters. You view that as almost like a prison riot. You are the warden. You are the slave master over this plantation, and your slaves are getting out of control. That's essentially what the man is saying. So all of that is to say this when it comes to Steve McNair and what he has to say, Donald Sterling and what he has to say. You can feel how you want to feel about my community, you know, as black people. You can feel how you want to feel. You can feel that, you know, a lot of us don't have fathers. A lot of us, you know, don't come from two-parent households. We've had drug problems, you know, in our history. We've had issues with poverty in our history. You can feel however you want to feel about it. But always remember that we didn't choose this bullshit. We didn't choose to come here.
Exactly, yeah.
If we have issues over in Africa, or if we had issues over in Africa, if we never came to this country, we can take that on our own shoulder. We have to shoulder those issues that we might have. But the African American story is very peculiar. Our culture is a created culture. We created it. It's a mix of European culture, mixed with African culture, mixed with a little bit of a new sauce that we've created over time. And that's a very peculiar story. Most people don't have that story. Most people are coming from a long lineage of culture. Anglo-Saxons are coming from a long lineage of culture. Germanic culture, long lineage. African culture, long lineage. Chinese, long lineage. Japanese, long lineage. The black experience is literally less than 200 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
so though there's parts of our culture, like I said, that we have to take accountability for, no matter the circumstances, no matter how poorly we're treated, we still have to organize and get our shit together. Make a united front. And I was telling somebody this the other day. All of the elite of our community, they have to come together. All our doctors, all our lawyers, all our public accountants, all our political contributors, all of these elite African American people that are out there, all these polished individuals that are out there, they have to come together. We have to come together in order to make a stand against the way people are treating us, the way people are addressing us. Because if we don't, as you can see, they're going to continue to run over us and say things like the inmates are running the prison. Screw you. Like point blank.
It's funny because he even said, "Oh, that's not what I meant." That's exactly what you meant.
That's exactly what you meant.
Why every time someone comes out and says something like that, the next day or whenever, oh, well, I didn't mean to say that. That's not what I really meant. That's exactly what you meant to say. You've been thinking about it the whole time. So, I mean, it's nothing. It's like we're protesting, but now, like your president said, he's not mine. He called the people who were ran into the Capitol. Oh, these are good people, but they had guns, everything. You know, they had the bulletproof vest on, everything. Those are good people. You know, leave them alone. This will pass. But then black people come out and they're protesting. Oh, look at these thugs. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Remember that's his favorite line. So.
Yeah, and I want to dig a little bit into that point, and we'll use, let me get her name right so I can give her due credit. It was the anchor who told LeBron James to continue to shut up and dribble.
Laura Graham, I think. Hold up, it's Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham.
So, to Miss Laura Ingraham, I want to make this point. As we've seen, she had her stance about LeBron James just shutting up and dribbling. And when it came to Dree Brees, she felt like he had all the right to make his statement. And guys, what that's showing you is that this country, a lot of times they hide the racism in the rhetoric, in the semantics, and how they talk about a certain subject. So if you're not keeping up with them, if you're not paying close attention, it'll go right over your head and you'll miss the fact that they've disrespected you out in the open with no issues about it at all. And so with Laura Ingraham, what she's showing you subliminally through her takes on these different athletes is that she believes that Drew Brees as a white man is more credible than LeBron James as a black man to speak on certain issues. And that's always one of the big things in this country is their belief in who's credible, who's polished enough to keep up with the subject, who's polished enough to actually articulate what's happening in the political space, in the societal space. They're always trying to make it a low IQ thing versus a high IQ. So essentially, she's alluding to Drew Brees having a high enough IQ to be credible about what he's speaking about. Drew Brees comes from a good home, an affluent home that he grew up in with very professional parents. LeBron James, she knows, comes from a troubled background, single parent background. Was damn near impossible for him to become who he is today. But even with who he became, she still doesn't give him credibility.
It's sad because it's like she doesn't even realize the hypocrisy and everything. Like she told LeBron and D-Wade, shut up and dribble. But then with Drew Brees, he's allowed to have an opinion. Come on now, like, what is the difference besides the color of their skin?
It's the perceived credibility. It's the same thing like you're saying. And if you pay attention, it's all the same thing. When you say that Trump looks at armed white men at the Capitol and say, oh, those are good people, those are good folks, and then, see some black people and calls them thugs or say they start looting, we start shooting and all these different things, it's all the same conversation. It's a credibility conversation.
Right.
They refuse to give anybody outside of themselves credibility to speak on a subject, to enact change. They view it like this. They view it that a black person isn't educated enough to know exactly what the flag stands for, exactly what this country stands for, exactly what the principles and the foundation of which their ancestors wrote the Constitution. They feel like we're not even smart enough to understand that. That's why she won't give credibility to a LeBron James, because by default, because he's black, he's not credible enough. That is what they're trying to tell you. And like I said, they do it in their rhetoric, in their conversation. I know, Paul, you speak to people using big words all the time. This is how they disseminate their racist ideas, is through those big words. The average person doesn't stop and watch C-SPAN for hours on end every day because most people view it as boring. They don't. Why do I want to sit here and watch a congressional hearing about said topic? They find that boring. I find it intriguing, and I find it intriguing because I know those are the places where you'll find that particular type of rhetoric that is going to go over most people's heads, where they're disseminating how they really feel about different people in this country. It's just that people aren't tuning in, or people aren't paying attention to exactly how they're mapping out their arguments. And like I said, Laura Ingraham, it's all rooted in what she views as a high IQ person versus a low IQ person, a person from impoverished background versus a person who came from a quote unquote good home. And that's one thing that people don't realize, is that who cares that Drew Brees came from a good home? He clearly lacks any type of moral standing based on what he said. Yeah. So who cares that he came from a good home? Yeah. He clearly doesn't care about even the players on his own team that he so-called probably calls his brother or calls his friend. He clearly doesn't care about that, right? So what does it matter that he came from a good home? Clearly he wasn't taught anything.
Well, it was that too, and also someone was arguing with me earlier today. It was like, well, Drew's giving money to the black community, so obviously he didn't mean it. I was like, that don't mean anything. I was like, what does that have to do with anything? That means nothing.
Let me piggyback on that point, Paul. This is the point I wanted to get to. I don't know if you saw this. I made sure to take it down earlier. So, Wendy's as a corporation, the fast food place, I guess they got on a list of
the Trump
organizations that support Trump, right? Yeah. So, of course, they were catching flack for it. Back to that conversation about them making sure that they come back with an apology or some kind of thing to make sure that their some of their customer base doesn't leave them based on what they their politics. So Wendy's came out as a corporation. It in quotes, this is what they said: "Our voice would be nothing without black culture." First of all, fuck you. Like what? Like, and that's what I'm saying, Paul, is that people think that they're so intelligent, but if people in my community are smart enough to read through bullshit, you would know off the rip that first line is complete bullshit.
What it's just like the Popeyes thing. People think that Popeyes is owned by black people because it's a black lady to come around. I was like, no. But go ahead.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Go ahead. They got some good chicken.
But so let's continue with their quote. "Our voice would be nothing without black culture." First of all, what voice are you talking about? You sound retarded. Right now, a lot of people are hurting because of blatant racism against black people. Their voices need to be heard, period. What is this? And the point I'm trying to make is that when these corporations come out and try to placate to the black community, if you're smart enough to read through the lines, you would see that even in them trying to relate to us, it's showing how badly they're disconnected from our community because they try to use certain things. It's almost just like when Hillary Clinton thought it would be cute to pull hot sauce out her bag, or Joe Biden was so comfortable around black people that he thought he could come out and say, if you don't know who to vote for, you're not black. Like, what are you guys thinking? Are you that culturally disconnected that you don't know that that's a bunch of bullshit?
Well, yeah, that's the problem.
And that and as black people, we should be highly offended by them doing things like that, because what they're trying to do is that they're placating to the part of our community that is not as intelligent, that cannot see through the bullshit, that's gonna fly on that surface radar and basically take what's given to them. They can placate to us and have us vote for them and their Democratic Party and all these different things, but there are people out there in this community that know their game and how they play it. And we know that every election cycle, they're going to find some cute way to try to placate the black people. Yep. Hot sauce in the bag. Let me finish this Wendy's quote. So black people's voices aren't being heard. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. All that bullshit. So it says in the coming days, we'll be using our Twitter account to amplify black voices, because what's the point of this big platform if we don't use it for what matters during times like these? We're about putting our money where our mouth is. So here's our money and here's our mouth. We are committed to donating $500K, which is nothing to a billion-dollar corporation, to support social justice, the youth and education in the black community, starting with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and we'll have receipts.
They said we'll have receipts.
For Christ's sake, Paul, I told somebody this earlier. They might as well donate to the National Fried Chicken and Hot Sauce College Fund. How cliche of an organization.
They're pandering.
Pandering?
They're pandering.
Do we look like idiots? Obviously, they must think so.
Yeah.
The Thurgood Marshall College Fund?
They made sure to put Thurgood Marshall in there. I didn't even know they did that.
Thurgood, and I guess he was what to y'all? He was one of the good boys, one of the good blacks, the ones that ain't gonna cause up a whole bunch of issues, massa.
He was the lightest one to them.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. And like I said, bro, we're not going for it. We're reading through all the lines. All the BS. We're reading through all of it, and we're not going for it. Hillary, you can keep your hot sauce in your goddamn bag. Joe Biden, you ain't as cool as you think you are. Well, you ain't cool. You definitely ain't cool with the black community, no matter what happens at the end of the day, no matter how the election goes. People feel like they got to choose somebody. They feel like you the lesser of two evils. So even if you do get support, it ain't genuine. It's just because people are living in a hellhole and they trying to get up out of it.
Exactly. So, well, let's piggy off that, and let's just make a lighter note though of some of our black leaders. Like, let's just take this soft-hearted. Let's not go. But tell me what's up with your boy T.I., man. Like, you really need to. I told you about it, but you need to hear the recording about how he said Atlanta's Wakanda. It's like,
all right, black people. I'm gonna tell you this once and one time only. We have to find better representation than what we have. T.I. does not represent me. Sorry, Mr. King of the South.
Clifford.
You do not represent me politically. You do not represent me intellectually. I don't care what y'all think about the big words that he uses expeditiously. All this BS. The truth of the matter is that T.I. is not a real intellectual. I don't care what anybody says. T.I. is a guy who is playing intellectual. He's doing his best. He's catering to a particular type of audience in our community that will believe that he's this savior of black people, this all do-gooder of black people. I'm not going for it. But once again, I'm only gonna say this one time. T.I. does not represent me. Killer Mike, he does pretty good sometimes. He did well in his speech that he had when the looting and the rioting started. I have nothing negative to say about that. But my overarching theme is this: T.I. does not represent me. Killer Mike really does not represent me. Really, Jesse Jackson does not represent me. Al Sharpton does not represent me. And I'm gonna be a little controversial here. I was telling Paul this off air. I support Kaepernick and what he stands for. I have no problem with the kneeling. Obviously, we went over all of that. But I'm interested in this notion that Kaepernick is this Muhammad Ali figure. I don't believe that. The inception of the whole taking a knee, Colin Kaepernick did not try to push himself out into the open and tell everybody, "Hey, I'm kneeling for the flag." I believe somebody took a picture of him and it got out that he was kneeling, so it became all this backlash and he had to stand on it. And I respect him for standing on it. But the issue that I have is that how do we knight somebody as this savior or this representative to our people? But Kaepernick never talks. He never says anything. Right. Like you're supposed to be this political activist, but you never say anything. You never come out and voice to the people your thoughts on what's going on in this country and what we can do to combat it, to help it, to organize anything. Well, and maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm not getting the memo that Kaepernick is sitting out.
I think the thing about it is Cap was the only one. And it wasn't by choice. Like, he lost his job and they blackballed him after that. But no one else has decided to do that with their job.
Okay, but Paul, my point is this, is that Kaepernick was already riding the bench when that happened.
Right.
So it's not like he gave up this Hall of Fame career that he was pursuing at that time. He went to the Super Bowl. And I want to preface this, before I continue. I'm not saying that I don't support Kaepernick because I believe in what the surface level of it is that you're kneeling.
More from him.
If he's going to continue to be knighted in that way, they're knighting him. They're knighting him like he's Muhammad Ali.
Absolutely.
So if you're Muhammad Ali was on the front line talking about these things.
Yeah, he was willing to go to jail.
He was out there. So I don't want to hear people always throwing Kaepernick's name up like I'm supposed to bow to Colin Kaepernick because of this platform that he's standing on, because at the end of the day, like I'll reiterate, it was never Colin Kaepernick's intention to be in the forefront of this issue.
Right, but that's why I said that's why I was saying, like, Colin is, of course they're gonna call him a martyr for it, but there's no one else who has actually gone that length. I think the closest player was Eric Reed, but he's back in the NFL now, and Malcolm Jenkins is back in the NFL too. I think he was always still there, but no one's actually gone through the lengths of, like, I don't think a corporation like Nike is going to get somebody else like Eric Reed. All right, we got another black guy now that can take over Cap's spot, because of just everything. Like, they still want to have a career. No one's willing to take that sacrifice. Granted, Colin, wasn't planning on losing his job, but no one else has stood up to, to not lose. I mean, they're not willing to lose their job to stand up for what's right. Because of course, people still gotta eat, but that's part of the problem. Like they're not gonna do that. And I think they're saying, well, if we gotta find somebody, then by default it's gonna be Cap.
Right, and I actually rock with everything you just said. Like I agree with that whole take. I think that's kind of what it boiled down to. And like I said, don't get my words twisted. I genuinely support Kaepernick and what he stands for. It's just I really take issue with who my community decides is our representative. And truth be told, none of the people that are out there in the forefront, Kaepernick, T.I., Killer Mike, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. That's not really that's not a polished lineup that you can go to war with against what we at war about.
Well, I will say I'm a big Killer Mike fan, but there needs to be other than just our rapper of Atlanta to help. Like, I mean, I agree with completely what he said. The night we started protesting in Atlanta, but like I said, there's no one as polished like you were saying before. But go ahead.
And speaking to that point about being polished, I guess my thing is this: it's not about a holier than thou position. I'm not trying to make it like, oh, who am I to talk down on these people that are trying to do something. That's not what I'm trying to come across as. What I'm trying to say is that we've had polished leaders in the past, right? So like Malcolm X, yeah, he was a criminal at one point, a criminal turned preacher or activist, but by no means did he bring his past with him, in the sense that you would have never known what his past was unless he told you.
Right.
The face that he was presenting to you was this of a polished man, of an educated man, of a well-read man, of a guy who, it was no fluff in his game. There was no smoke and mirrors with Malcolm X. It was strictly of a person who knew his details, that knew his history, that knew the fight that he was up against. And whether you subscribe to Malcolm's politics and how he, went about, his time here as an activist. Like, I don't agree with everything that Malcolm did, but one thing that I'll always stand on is that he was a polished individual. You didn't want any issue with Malcolm X, because he was not going to let you intimidate him with your intellect or with your aggression or any of that. He knew where he stood. He knew why he stood there, and he knew the facts. And if you tried to come at him, you were in for a long night, because you were dealing with somebody who was very prepared. And that's my point, is that T.I. is not very prepared. He's not ready to just get up in front of a group of people and speak on the black community's behalf. I'm not going for that, and we can't go for that. The fact of the matter is that Killer Mike did pretty well, but the point of the matter is that we need somebody polished. Where are the black those of us that are political science majors? Where's Angela Rye is a good example. She is a contributor that is big into social activism and different things. Very polished, very very educated. I need those type of people as my representative, people that I can trust to be well-read, to be polished, to be well-studied and well prepared to deal with the chaos that is America.
Let's start politicking for. I know you'll agree with me on this, but let's start politicking for Bomani Jones, man. Bomani Jones, 2024.
Bomani Jones for president.
2024.
Bomani Jones for president.
Man, he ain't gonna do that shit. He ain't gonna do that.
And maybe that's what it boils down to, Paul, is that a lot of people that are polished enough in our community, maybe they don't want to be a part. Maybe they don't want to be the representative. Maybe they don't want to put themselves out on the front line. And but I can't say that to be the absolute truth. I'm just saying that for some of those people, maybe that's what that is at the end of the day. That's why we find that our representative is just these random people, random rappers and random, entertainers, is that the people that are polished enough to really do it don't want to truly be a part of it. But I would hate to believe that that's what the case is.
Well, I think a lot of it is that especially the black community, if you're popular, especially at that moment, then black people are going to come together. Hey, let's get them for the president. Like, we just jokingly said Bomani Jones, but we actually have references and credits to say, oh, he would work. But people remember, I don't know if you remember, like 4 years ago, they were talking about Kanye West for president. I don't know why they were saying that, but he'd be a great president.
I think that was on the backside of Trump.
Now look at us. Now look. Who would want Kanye West as a president? But anyway, I digress. We also had other stuff on the docket, man. Cause
let's switch lanes. A lot of that stuff is very heavy, and maybe people want to listen to that, maybe they don't. But let's switch gears nonetheless. I think we've went through majority of what we wanted to talk about, guys. We've gone in length about a lot of different subjects: Dree Brees, racism in sports.
Zion and John Morant,
the riots, black representation, these different things. Paul, is there anything else that you wanted to cover? I know we had mentioned Candace Owens, bringing her up a little bit. Obviously, that's not the lightest of subjects because she's a very polarizing individual. So I don't know if you want to go down that road.
We covered a lot of stuff. Today's Wednesday, right? No, today's Thursday. So we can actually see what happens after this, after we record, because something always happens after we record. Let's see. We talked about the NBA. We talked about Ja. We talked about you not being able to beat me in basketball.
Oh God.
That's about it, though. To be honest with you. And talking about Killer Mike, you need to listen to Run the Jewels 4. I don't even know if you listen to Run the Jewels, but
I heard it was good. I actually haven't heard Run the Jewels. I definitely heard it was a good body of work, for sure. And like I said, I don't want my words to be misconstrued as me saying that I'm not a fan of T.I. or a fan of Killer Mike. I'm a fan of them musically. And like I said, Killer Mike does say some things that I agree with, obviously. And he's able to articulate himself very well. I just feel like as a community, back to this point, is that we just need better representation. We need representation that can be taken seriously on more serious platforms in order to address our politics accordingly. We need that. We're owed that. We deserve that. We've had it in the past. We have those type of individuals around today, very polished, educated people that need to step up. Maybe we need to step up. Maybe I need to step up and be what I want the change to be. So it's a very interesting conversation. But like I said, I don't want my words construed. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just stating my position on it and my feelings as a black person, because I feel like my feelings are as valid as anybody's. So that's why I'll leave it.
No, but also, like I said before, well, I didn't say this yet, but why don't you just run?
Keno's Davis for president, 2028.
2028? Why not 2024?
I'm not ready yet.
You're not ready yet.
I'm not polished enough. I got to go back to the drawing board.
Nah,
you know what I mean?
Polished.
I can't, I can't put myself out there knowing that I'm not studied enough to represent us, and that goes back to my point, is that you have to be very prepared in order to deal with this monster that we call America, and that's what the facts are.
Okay, then.
You're somebody who I had a great deal of respect for, but sometimes you should shut the fuck up.
All right, we done with that.
Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the episode.
You did some preaching, man.
Episode 4 of the Most Hated Podcast. Karen, I'm not going to tell you again. That was the last time I was going to tell you what to do. You know what the right thing to do is. So
let that damn dog go. All right, man.
Episode 4, Most Hated Podcast, and we out.
We out.